say 39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up. Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk for a minty fresh take on politics. And man, this is unbelievable. I actually got the board right tonight. I came up first, and my people are on the side area. You're probably wondering, what the heck? Where's the opening thing for tonight? I said, well, we don't have time because we only have Dr. Stock for about 10 minutes, and we wanted to get right to it. So we got everybody here. We're going to go ahead and bring Dr. Stock on, and then after he goes to his meeting, he has a global summit to talk about COVID tonight. So I'm going to bring him right out here on the main stage. And Dr. Stock, how are you this evening?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and have you come back on again because you're getting scratchy again. So I'm sorry. Well, we'll just go ahead and go back out and we'll bring you back in. So, Dana, how'd you get out there?
Dana.
Yeah, Dana. Well, let's bring Dana Black out to the hot seat while we're waiting for Dr. Stock to come back in because his longer he stays on the internet, it gets a little crackly. So
yeah. I'm good. Indiana's own Dana Black in the house. Happy to be here. Ready to hang out. Me and Lucy are already starting off on the right foot. We agreeing on some things. It's going to be a good end to the year when me and Lucy start off agreeing.
Yeah, well, let's see how it finishes. So we see Dr. Stock back here. Let's bring him back out. And
really good at biochemistry. Technology, not so much.
Yeah, we've seen that. You had the same issues last time. So luckily you only have 10 minutes. So hopefully it won't start crackling again, although maybe you have the Rice Krispies in your internet. Maybe that's what it is. So again, tell us a little bit about this global summit that you're getting ready to get on and you're going to ditch us for.
Well, there's a group of us who have been doing lectures internationally, trying to get the full story of COVID-19 and the vaccines out so that people could make informed decisions about this. The information set coming from the federal government and the World Health Organization is very narrow and very exclusive, I should say, and not representative of the bulk of the data that's been coming out on this. So we are doing a live Twitter feed today. We're actually going to be letting people call in and speak with all of us who can recite that data.
Well, that's, I should have named this show I Told You So, because it seems like there's a little bit of that going around. I just read that there was an article about Governor DeSantis wants to have an inquiry about about how we were lied to about the vaccine, and the science world is freaking out. Also, a study out that I actually put it on the Mouthwash page about there is 60% are dying that have been vaccinated and 40% non-vaccinated. So, of course, but if you listen to the Atlantic, which is, I'm sure a newspaper that people listen to, they say that the Republicans are dying because they're the ones that are anti-vaxxers. So there's all sorts of misinformation out there. So we're going to get this started, Dan, with questions from our panel. And I'm going to put Dana Black on the hot seat here. So she's our guest tonight, filling in for Ed Liptrap. He's at the Pacers game, which is right here in town, and he lives in South Bend. So you figure that out. So Dana, what question might you have for Dr. Stock that's just you've been itching to ask?
I really hadn't thought about it like that. But the biggest question I would have is, prior to any of the vaccines, someone who went into the hospital with COVID was more than likely to lose their life. I personally have lost multiple friends because of COVID. Talk about the I know that there's, different stories about the vaccines, but we did see a sharp decrease in deaths once the vaccines started rolling out. I understand there's variations, just like the flu shot. The flu shot is different variant, blah, blah, blah. But talk about the significance of getting that vaccine out and into arms as far as reducing the loss of life.
Well, first of all, you should know that the best for everybody should know about these vaccines. They're probably the worst research medicine that's ever been sold in the United States. The research was done very badly. The only placebo-controlled research we have on them clearly indicates they do not save life. And that's Pfizer's own data. As a matter of fact, from the 3 months to the 6 months time frame, we actually saw that the deaths were greater in the vaccinated than the unvaccinated, which is actually what we see with these vaccine series, that these shots are actually, while they may give you some short-term protection from hospitalization and severe disease, they don't protect you from death, and over time they make you more susceptible to death. As a matter of fact, the risk of dying goes up the more shots of it you take. So as an impact on death, we have no data that says in the short term it does anything on death. We have suggestive evidence, but only suggestive evidence that over time they raise your risk of overall death. They didn't actually even reduce the risk of dying from COVID-19 in the placebo-controlled randomized trials. And so it's really the only thing you can say regarding either COVID-19 death or overall death is that the effect is null on death or harmful. That's why we're seeing most of the other countries are actually stopping the vaccine program for anybody who's young, almost anybody who's male. They've abandoned this because it doesn't really, it's not really a vaccine. It doesn't train the immune system to fight the way an immune system has to fight. So I'd have to answer your question by saying, well, you'll always see a reduction in death as an epidemic moves on because the people who are susceptible die and the people who are going to overcome it survive. And so when you see that immunity building up, you always see the death rate go down. That doesn't mean you can attribute it to the vaccine. As a matter of fact, the best data we have says you clearly cannot attribute it to the vaccine. Now, that's been very confusing for people because the CDC and the NIH have continued to look exclusively at their own data, which they pay the healthcare system to cook for them. So they misclassify what we used to call a case of an infection versus a case without infection, if you would, somebody who's dying from COVID versus somebody who dies with COVID. They've conflated all of those numbers, and therefore that's why their research looks different than the research of any other country in the world right now. Because they conflate, they call vaccinated people unvaccinated in their counting system. When you actually use the data the way it's always been used scientifically before, the death effect of the vaccines is at best break even, and even on COVID-19 death. And then if you look at overall death, it clearly appears that it's actually making you more likely to be dead if you take a series than if you didn't. And the more shots of it you take, the more likely you are to be dead.
And that's sort of what the data is. And I did post the Atlantic article there first, and then the KFF organization, and that's actually a study. So, Dr. Stock, I'm going to ask you to go back out and come back in again because you're starting to crackle, and I will go out here. We'll get the lovely Tiffany out here. Is Tiffany back from your vacation, your paid vacation from the Mouthwash Talk Show? I mean, hey, you can't beat that. So we got Dr. Stock back.
Thank you so much for sending me on vacation.
Okay, well, hey, you're up since you're just there. So what question, comment would you like to talk about? We had the survey on the mouthwash. We had about, let's see, 2, 4, 6, we had about 9 different categories. And this is one that Dr. Stock is sort of famous for, is masks were very effective at stopping COVID-19. We had one person vote that was true. The most voted on thing was deaths from COVID-19 were misdiagnosed. So maybe you could form a question out of that.
So my question goes back to what Dr. Stock said a little while ago about stopping the vaccines. And you said particularly in men. So I just want you to talk just a little bit more and give us a little bit more insight into that.
Well, we have to speak a little bit speculatively because we have not done a lot of gender differences between this. But speaking from the functional side, when you're trying to make a spike protein, which if you give one of these shots to somebody, their cell is going to make the toxic protein itself. This protein requires a great deal of what's called post-translational modification. And that is a process that's mostly regulated by testosterone in the cell. The reason guys have bigger, stronger tendons than women is because our testosterone does more of that post-translational modification. Unfortunately, we also think that means we make better spike protein than you guys do. So when you take one of these shots, you're the guy who gets most of the problem with it. Now, we don't know that that's all the explanation. It also appears that the more you exercise, when you do a lot of oxidative stress by burning a lot of calories, you work your cardiovascular system hard, you actually induce this thing called the ACE2 receptor, which is what the spike protein binds to cause your misery. So if guys tend to be more athletically active than girls, they'll have more ACE2 on their cardiovascular system. And therefore, when they start making spike protein, we'll get more injury. That's another explanation. Although I can tell you that it turns out that while most of the symptomatic myocarditis, meaning, gee, I had chest pain, I went to the hospital, somebody did a study and found I was sick. When we actually looked at the rate of myocarditis, it was actually higher in girls. They just didn't get severe enough to go to the hospital. So they were more likely to get a permanent temporary, I should say a permanent asymptomatic heart injury versus the guys who got a permanent severe injury or died from it.
Yeah, I had a friend that had myocarditis after getting the shot and is in stroke and will not be out of a nursing home. And another fraternity brother that had a stroke and he's rehabbing. So, that two people that I know, but that's not scientific or not data related, but it is two people that I know. And, maybe they would have got myocarditis on their own. Who knows?
Well, not from COVID-19. That's actually been pretty thoroughly studied, other than the CDC study where, again, they just completely misclassified the data. And every other data set we've looked at, COVID-19 doesn't cause myocarditis. And in fact, you wouldn't think it was. It doesn't.
What about the vaccine? Is the vaccine got anything?
No one's debating that it causes myocarditis. Right now, the only debate is how permanent and how great is the damage. A very well done study was just published that showed that a third of kids, older kids who get vaccinated have some cardiac injury that we can measure, meaning they have an abnormal EKG, they have a normal troponin, something like that. A third of them have some measurable injury. And the way this shot works, it causes obligate heart damage with every dose. That's the biochemistry of the shot. We know that the heart is the fifth or sixth organ that gets the most of the lipid nanoparticles when you shoot them in the arm. And every one of those cells that takes up the lipid nanoparticles will have to be destroyed by the immune system. If you do get any kind of beneficial immune system response, it will have to destroy the heart cell that took up that lipid nanoparticle. So there's damage to every heart with every dose. The only question is enough damage to cause scarring, leaving you with a permanent injury, or do you just get out with temporary injury? The data would suggest that if you're symptomatic, you have permanent injury. That if you got chest pain, if you had to go to the hospital, you're permanently injured. The only question is how permanently injured.
To be a good student, a good steward of your time, I'm going to let Lucy ask a question, and then you can answer as long as you have to, because we're getting a little long in the tooth, and we don't want to keep the world waiting for your knowledge of big words and things.
Well, there's going to be a lot brighter guys than me on here. So.
Oh, really? Well, I don't believe I could even watch this and understand it. So hey, you can translate for me. So Lucy, go ahead. What? I know you got all sorts of questions.
Well, hopefully this will be short and sweet, and Dr. Stock can get on to his next engagement. I put up catastrophic contagion behind me, and I also linked it into the notes so that people could go see. Dr. Stock, I've got to believe that you're already aware of Bill and Melinda Gates laughing and giggling with each other about how the next pandemic is really going to get our attention. And they just had this tabletop exercise, kind of like the one they did in 2019. They had it back on October 23rd of this year. So what do you think will happen with the catastrophic contagion that's aimed at little children?
Well, you have to understand when you make a designer pathogen, the immune system of human beings is fairly uniform. I mean, there's variations, but genetically, you can't make a designer pathogen that only kill Asians or only kill Russians. Anything you do that would kill a lot of your own people too. So they're probably not going to, well, I know these are pretty stupid people doing this. They may actually come up with
evil, not stupid. Evil.
You know, I'm going to go with stupid because honestly, most people who do what we call evil are really stupid when you talk with them. It's like tell people, you know, all of Hitler's generals told him, if you invade Russia, we're dead. He made them do it anyway. But this one will probably be the same kind of thing where, hey, if your immune system is not good, it'll make you get sick. If your immune system is good, you'll probably survive it. And there's things you can do with early treatment because we have those available for most viral disease. The virus isn't what kills you. It's your immune system and your inflammatory regulation mechanisms that are suboptimal that end up killing you. You die from the inflammation response, not from the virus infecting cells and making them break open and all of that. And so it'll be hyped up and they'll count the cases the wrong way again so they can make the numbers seem inordinately large. Although I think at least the American population is beginning to realize it shouldn't trust its own government. And I suspect that this one will probably, you have to remember the nice thing about idiots is they're really bad at calculating and they'll probably come up with something which is not all that bad, just like COVID wasn't. It'll be easily treated like COVID was. Whether we'll get doctors to treat them is the bigger question.
I wonder if we haven't had the boy that cried wolf on a couple of these things about, hey, how much trust is there in when you have a president that comes on and said COVID will be stopped by this virus and you won't get it, you can't pass it on, and it turns out to be not so true. So,
well, I can tell you that Dr. Fauci has been the best advertisement for my practice that there has been. And all of the patients who are joining my practice now routinely saying the same thing is they realize there's no reason they should trust the healthcare system because of the way the government's running it.
Yeah.
And the Twitter
all right, Dr. Stock, you're starting to get scratchy again and you got to go and all that, but we will have you back on. I think this thing's just starting to heat up as far as, you know, we're starting to get results. The experiment's a couple years old now. And I think folks are going to start seeing what's really happening. And, you know, the data doesn't lie, right? Because I know you're a data guy. So thanks for taking some time. I know you had another engagement, and we will be honoring that. We would love to chat with you for the whole hour, but we cannot. So we have other things to talk about too, because I know Dana is really doesn't want to talk about the COVID for an hour. I can see it in her face. So Dr. Stock, thanks again, and good luck with all you're doing.
Happy New Year, guys.
And you know what, John, I got to tell you, you're not wrong. And you know why? Because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. Now, you asked me about some IT stuff. You asked me about some computers. I can talk about that all day.
Yeah. Well, hey,
I don't know.
let's,
I am not a disease expert.
Yeah. I had some biology in college and different things. And I understand a few things about stuff. And my theory is eat a little dirt every day and you'll be fine. So, I mean, you know, dogs go out and drink out of the mud puddle and I don't see them. They get hit by cars and stuff, but I don't see them
They
killing
also
over.
lick their own butts too. So
Yeah.
there might be some immunity coming from that. I'm not a veterinarian.
Right. I know we drank out of water hoses when we was kids. So I don't know. I mean,
it was
you know,
so good. Once the water, you let it run a little bit and then it would
got
get
cool.
underground cold. And
So
that
before
green
we-
hose, just the smell and yes.
Yeah, that tastes like the hose. Before we move on, I want to talk about our poll about this on People Over Politics is where we do the polling, because Mouthwash is a page, and you know you can't do a poll there. So if you're not aren't in the People Over Politics group, hey, go there on Facebook and join the group. and we'd love to have you. And I put up various polls, and we're going to talk about a few more of these polls here in a minute. But this one here was the questions were: which choice best represents your position concerning the COVID-19 pandemic? Choose all that apply. You can choose more than one, which I sort of screwed up this thing because I think a lot of people chose the same thing. So we have masks were very effective at stopping COVID-19. Only one person thought that was cool. And
did you say COVID-19?
I didn't. Maybe I did. You know me, I'm old school.
That's funny.
So I like to make up words. Tiffany, come on, let me have my fun.
No, I loved it. COVID-19, not COVID-20.
Well, we're going to get COVID-20 next year probably.
Right.
So get ready. COVID is another version of the flu. We had 11% people thinking that was one. Deaths from COVID-19 were misdiagnosed. That was our leading vote getter at 22%. COVID will never be eliminated, 12%. COVID-19 was a distraction for political reasons. That was pretty far up there at 18%. I have to put in there, none of these match my thoughts, one person. And then we had some people are dying from the COVID-19 vaccine, 15%. Our government did an excellent job protecting the U.S. citizens, one person. We were misled about the effectiveness of the COVID vaccine, and that would be 19%. We had about 75 people vote. So, hey, that makes it official, right? We had all those people. So I'm going to go here. And Dana, what do you think about maybe the politics part of it? Do you think there was something there?
I wish it hadn't been. I wish it hadn't started out that way. And it did in the previous administration. It turned into a political thing before it even got to this current administration. So if we could have I get that we got some things wrong because like science is a bunch of experiments until you get it right. Right. And so I'm okay with getting some things wrong, getting some things right. It was politicized as soon as it hit when dude was like, oh, it'll be over by Easter. Oh, to be, so I mean, it started. I wish it hadn't been because sometimes politics and health don't mix, because if you were in it for, to get votes, then it may cost lives. And that's a problem for me. That I think there should be, let the scientists sometimes talk. And in that case, 45 didn't know what he was talking about either, so a lot of people.
He wanted to rush things. I mean, there's plenty of blame. Fauci came out and said masks are no good, then masks are good.
I loved everything that Dana said, but the only thing I would disagree with, I think that there was never anyone to balance Fauci. So I think that, if we're going to separate politics and health and disease, then it would have been great if there was somebody to say, hey, it's a vaccine, it hasn't been fully studied. We don't have any longitudinal data. This is what we believe. If you want to take it, it's available. But I think once you start pushing those mandates on people for school and work, I think that's where things just really kind of went off the tracks because they didn't have all the science. And I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but I sold medicine for about 15 years. I worked for a pharmaceutical company. And there were doctors that I would work with. I would have a brand new medicine, FDA regulated, studied in animals, studied in sick people, studied in healthy people, covered under insurance, a known mechanism of action. And they'd be like, I don't know, it's not been used in 10 million real people yet. I don't know if I can prescribe it. But these are some of the same people.
Is that how doctors talk?
It's my old doctor voice. I've been working not perfected yet. But my point is that you can give people everything about a medicine, and you can break down adverse events by race and sex and gender and ethnicity and regions of the world. But it is just so interesting that they chose to make the vaccine, but to push it on people. And that's what I think is really unfair, because as you get more information, now all of a sudden, those things could happen. No one's culpable if I have any side effects. It's just I just got to eat this. I just think that's where it gets to be unfair.
Yeah. So Lucy, I'm going to put you out on the hot seat. I'm going to have a question for you. We were told that that this and that, or, take the vaccine and all that. But how come the government didn't tell us any of the, that you couldn't sue the manufacturer? We couldn't have, you couldn't even discuss it on Twitter or Facebook our show got censored on YouTube twice just for talking about it. We didn't say don't get it, do get it. We were just having a discussion, and we were censored. And now we don't get censored. I bet you this show doesn't get censored. I hope, but it might, because we talked about COVID. What's the deal, Lucy? What's the deal? I know.
No, good.
Well, I've got to tell you, I've got to laugh right along with Tiffany, because it's like, should we use it? Should we not use it? Did my Bahamas vacation, that's actually a tax write-off, have those tickets been booked yet? I don't know if I got enough pens in my office, and everything was hidden in plain sight. Okay, so ever since 1986, when Ronald Reagan signed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, it created a precedent that we don't hold pharmaceutical manufacturers feet to the fire in any way, shape, or form when it comes to vaccines. This is why the FDA just had a 15-0 vote a few months ago through the ACIP, which is the governing organization that says which vaccines are going to be on the schedule, because it was under a special liability-free EUA, which is the emergency use authorization. And then as soon as they got it on the childhood vaccine schedule, it immediately had zero liability forever. This is not something that's been hidden. It's only that people are frickin' ignorant. People will, spend hours on Pinterest trying to figure out how they're going to turn that free armoire by the side of the road into a cute coffee bar with crackle milk paint, but they don't frickin' read. Am I wrong? But
no, you're not wrong. I think it's funny.
But they don't, they don't even read the insert that comes with the packaging. And to your point, Tiffany, about, we can break this down by race and we can break it down by gender. Yeah, we absolutely can. And we did that with the MMR vaccine. And this is what the movie Vaxxed was all about, is the fact that if you were Black and if you were male, and you got the MMR vaccine at 12 months versus 36 months, and that was the big difference, the age of administration of that vaccine, your chance of becoming autistic was 380% higher. Well, when they were doing that study, there was no way that they were going to say, hey, by the way, we're taking these beautiful, smart, young Black male babies and turning them into children with autism who are going to have extreme needs for the rest of their life. But what did they do? They said, okay, well, how can we get these people out? Well, they decided that since this was done in Georgia, and there's a large Black population in Georgia, and a lot of those people had come in from surrounding states to move to Atlanta and take part of the study, they took anyone in the study that did not have a certificate of live birth from Georgia, threw them out of the study. So now they were able to get rid of a large amount of the population. They were able to get the correlation down to 80%. And then they further diluted it with a few other statistical, hoops that they jumped through. So then they were able to say, no, the MMR vaccine is completely safe. By the way, Julie Gerberding, who was the head of the CDC at that time, she then went on and took another job shortly thereafter as the head of international vaccine safety for Merck. So they got her out of the country to make it difficult to subpoena her. And Merck, who manufactures the MMR vaccine, they rewarded her with a much higher paying job for protecting their profits.
Always.
So go watch Vaxxed, the movie. There's a second Vaxxed movie that goes into even more of the tragedies and individual stories of the people who were harmed by this. So this was just as it was designed from the very beginning. You have an evil satanic cabal, and part of this is what I understand. I'm not a Satanist, but they have to tell you and you have to volunteer so that the karma does not come back on them. So everybody that said that I've got to do it, I've got to get mandated, what's happening now a year and 2 years later, those people are being reinstated into their jobs and they're getting back pay. Why? Because it was never legal in the first place. So the people that didn't have the courage to stand up to Leviathan are getting exactly, I don't want to say what they deserve, because I don't feel like anybody deserves to be tricked into compliance, but they're certainly suffering the consequences of the decisions they made.
Yeah, and this is we have not heard the end of it. Like I said, we have DeSantis has wanted to open up an inquiry about the effectiveness of this virus, and already the scientific community is up in arms.
Here, let me get us banned right now. Until the parents of the dead children storm the walls and storm the doors of the CDC and Fauci's office, and they dox him and find out where he lived, and the parents of the children that he murdered hold them accountable and they're hanging from light poles, this will not end.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I think part of the issue is that folks, the data is not all conclusive yet. I mean, we're getting data in.
The data was conclusive before they ever released the vaccine.
I know that, but I'm talking about the public. It has to get to that point where they get the tar and feathers out and the pitchforks and march into the street. So,
well, Elon Cog in the wheel Musk, who is busy creating the very surveillance system. Didn't anybody watch the Terminator movies? What do you think Starlink is? It's a way to track every single person. And if you've got a 5G phone, well, I mean, really, if you have any phone at all, I mean, Starlink is going to track you all over the world. There is no place safe. I've got kids, I pay for their phones, so I make sure that I can track their movements. And it's fascinating to me. My house is, I don't know, 70, 80 feet long. And when I track my daughter and she comes home, I'm in one end of the house, she's at the other end of the house. And they've got us exactly right on the dot. Like the Jewish space laser beam could come, come get us out of existence.
I have tinfoil on my roof to keep it from getting me, so I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm glad you are.
So let's
Jewish laser beam.
That's another conspiracy theory.
Yeah, which we have a few of those. So let's move on. We're going to move on from that. I think we've that horse is fallen over. So let's talk about the government surplus. And I remind our audience, our viewers tonight, if you have a topic or a question you want to throw out there, put it up in the live chat, and we'll certainly talk about it. But Indiana has a large surplus on the books. It's got like $6 billion of our tax money. So we did a little survey, and this is a survey question. Indiana has a large tax surplus on the books. What do you think the government should do? We had lower sales tax to 6%. Hey, 24% of the people like that. No opinion, 1%. Lower property taxes, close tie at 23%. Give back the money to the taxpayers, 39%. Keep it for a rainy day, 4%. Lower the gas tax, 9%. So there's what we have for our
in the comments. Hello, I had something in the comments.
What do we got?
Eliminate the state income tax.
Okay, did you put that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so Tiffany, that would be your thing would be eliminate state. You want to be like Florida, so they don't have that. Dana Black, what would you like to see happen with that money?
And shoes. Wait a minute. I think we should buy shoes too. High heels.
Buy shoes.
I'm with you with the shoes, but I'm gonna be buying some cowboy boots. So I obviously we're bringing in way more revenue than we're actually using. So if we have a surplus, I would like to see us address if we already have it and it's already collected, I'd like to see us address some of the real issues that we have that are impacting people. For example, we have a 2,500 open positions for teachers. We have a teacher shortage. One of the reasons why we have a teacher shortage is because we don't pay teachers. We don't pay them. They can go to Kentucky and make more money. They can go to Illinois and then go to Ohio, then go to Michigan and make more money. So we have a teacher shortage at the moment. So maybe we ought to invest some of that into educating our kids, right? That's the first thing. Second of all, I don't think that we should eliminate the state tax because we're not a tourist state like Florida is. People don't come to Indiana to hang out on the beaches like they do in Florida, so that we don't get those extra sales tax. So we can't eliminate it, but I think obviously if we're bringing in more than we are using, then we should reduce it. I agree that we should reduce it. Eliminating, sorry, we ain't got Daytona Beach, we ain't got Longboat Key, we ain't got Key West,
we got
ain't got Miami. Come on, y'all.
Michigan, we have
Indiana Beach.
Yes, we have the White River.
Yes, because every kid,
Mars Hill,
every kid at spring break can't wait to come to Indiana for spring break.
Well, hey, we got that going for us.
Well,
Dana, to your point on, 52% of our state budget goes to education. Now, the argument would be it ain't going to the teachers. It's going to everybody but the teachers. Go ahead, Tiffany. Go.
I agree with John on that. When you look at, they've got charts when you look at like how the budget, how they've given more money to schools, and then also the amount of people who work in education who don't touch students, the amount of just overhead that they've brought in, administrative people, that money is not going to teachers and the classrooms and the people who are down there in the trenches. So definitely, I agree with Dana. Investing in our children is a good thing, but we've got to make sure that that money is making it to the teachers. So, and I think that that's the problem with some of the places. I'm on the library board here in Hamilton County. Absolutely love it. But sometimes some places have a too much money problem, and not a lot of people have that problem where there's too much money. And when you have too much money, you do things that are good, but you don't always do the fundamentals. And you're not always making the best decisions. So, anything, if you can do teacher pay, that's great. Better technology in classrooms, better classes, definitely finding the kids that need to go to college, the ones who need to be on a technical path, doing public-private partnerships, definitely investing in our children. I would love it. Like here in Hamilton County, like Fishers is, we've got great schools in Hamilton County, but there's going to come a point where we've got to lean forward a little bit more and say something like, we not only have great schools, but we're building really great adults. Because you can have a wonderful high school education, and then what? So I think we have to lean in and trying to create the best young people possible who can, be in the workforce, take care of their own bills, understand the importance of working every day and earning their keep. So I do think that we've got to build better adults. Educating people, anybody can do that.
Yeah, it seems to be a sort of a tricky deal. So, but I want to bring up this on, Adam Harvey's pointing out some good things about, Dana, here you go. Santa Claus, Indiana, and Holiday World. How about this one? The Indy 500.
Are y'all
the Indy
serious?
500.
Are y'all serious right now? Y'all serious right now? I mean,
Well,
as much as I
we're trying.
appreciate Holiday World and the Indy 500, that one day event, this is not a tourist state. So stop it, y'all. Stop.
It's
This is not a
month-long
tourist.
event.
It's not. They have people touring. People go and vacation in Florida every day. That's not people left Indiana when that storm came. They was like, oh, I'm out of here. They went to Florida. Y'all need to stop. I think it's adorable. I do. I'm my whole name is Indiana's own. So I love my state and I believe in who we are, but I'm not going to lie to myself and believe that I'm going to bring in as much tourism as they do in Florida. Stop.
Well, we don't have hurricanes. Hey, we don't have hurricanes.
Stop, y'all. Stop. That's nonsense. Nonsense.
If we
nonsense.
Well,
it's nonsense.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Dana is not going to be on our board of tourism. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to let on live and say that.
Oh, so I could absolutely be on your board of tourism. I could.
Can I hop in here? Can I hop in here?
You have corn.
We are the crossroads of America. We are a convention state. We have our niche. We know what our niche is. So let's just go ahead and do that. And let's admit taxation is theft. It is the non-voluntary theft of everything that you spend. And when you think about the fact that, you earn $1 and you don't even get $1, I mean, like 22% of it's gone right off the top. So you only get 78 cents. And then if you go spend that 78 cents on gasoline, well, 33% of that, about 25 cents is just taxes. So you're getting the use of maybe 50%. And obviously I'm ignoring those people who are going to end up paying federal taxes of 15 to 36%. So you really end up with somewhere between, 30 and 40 cents.
You missed the difference between men and women, and then also Black men and Black women. So, you missed those.
Yeah. Well,
get that in there.
All I got to say is
get like a nickel of every dollar.
Taxation is theft. And if our state is in the position right now of it's stealing more money from its citizens than it actually needs to operate, then I think that's a great trend that we should continue. We should look at where else are we collecting too much money and take that money back to the people. My solution is, and always has been, to make Indiana a corporate tax-free state. Countries accept countries are vying for our manufacturing. In fact, most of our manufacturing has left because they go to places where there is lower taxation, because the tax is part of the cost of goods sold. It is part of the product that the consumer pays. So a lot of people are like, tax the corporations, tax the corporations. And I'm like, dude, you add 50 cents of taxes onto the bread, it's going to go up, 75 cents by the time it gets to you on the shelf. So if you want to make Indiana strong, then declare us to be a zero corporate tax state and watch them all run and fight to be here.
Actually, I have to disagree with that because we already have some of the lowest corporate taxes
They're
in
not
the
zero.
nation.
They're
No,
not zero.
no one has zero. No one has zero. So, but we have
I
the
know
lowest.
we would rule.
But wait, no, oh my God. But wait, even Eli Lilly's, who is our homegrown pharmaceutical, we already done talked about pharmaceutical companies, but we're talking about a corporation right now. And a corporation that is saying to us, we're not even producing the right type of individuals from school to fill the roles that they need. So what they did was actually expand their facility in the Carolinas. So if until we address what's really happening, there's a brain drain, there's flight, all of that. These companies, we already got a low tax rate. They not flocking here. We just lost Intel to Ohio. We lost Intel to Ohio. Low tax rates ain't enough. We got to fix some of the other costs. What is it? Quality of life issues here if we really want to bring those corporations here. And that's real talk. When your homegrown conglomerate tells you we got to fix the quality of life because we went and just took our business somewhere else. We got more issues than taxes. More issues than taxes.
Oh yeah, we're competing with Chicago right now for like murder capital of the United States. I mean, they call Indianapolis Little Chicago now, Little Chi-Town. So I don't know. All I know is that we are taxed to death. People have a lower quality of life when they have less money to spend. And as far as the education goes, we're getting exactly what we pay for. We're focusing on critical race theory. We're focusing on diversity, inclusion, equity. It's not DEI. I know everybody wants to say DEI, but it's really die. It's where our academics have gone to die. We are being educated by our enemies. And it started with Rockefeller in the early 1900s when he decided that he wanted to make sure we were not raising any philosophers or artists. And the best way to do that was to make public education compulsory and for the government to control what is useful for citizens to know. What is not useful for citizens to know? The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, how money is created, how to save money, why inflation actually happens. There are actually people out there that think that Putin and Zelensky are causing the inflation we're experiencing. They are really that freaking ignorant.
Well, I don't know who wants to take this one, Tiffany or Dana. Let's put Dana out here.
I will say that I agree that we need to create well-rounded people. But if you live in communities where you're not exposed to different types of cultures and understand the nuances of human experiences, doesn't that limit your ability to be a well-rounded individual? Because you don't learn empathy, you don't learn other cultures, and diversity, inclusion, and equity. I mean, it would be different if in this nation it began that way, but because of historical missteps, there's still historical trauma. I don't understand why it's wrong to teach kids to be decent humans to people who don't look like them. What? I don't even understand that.
Hey, you know what? We do that. We don't do that by school curriculum, which divides people.
Why
We do that by
you?
being.
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with
because you're being educated by your enemies. You're being educated.
But I thought
by
you said you wanted philosophers. I thought you said you wanted philosophers.
I want philosophers. I want
but
artists.
Philosophers have to see the world as it is and all of its nuances. You can't be a philosopher and only see the world one way.
Oh, no, obviously not. I'm going to agree with you there. But the problem is there are some philosophers who come from, like me, on the economic side, the Austrian theory of economics. That's where I philosophize into my economics, and there are other people who are Marxist. Well, what the Marxists want is they want a big group of them together to beat up on us to take away our taxes, and then they get a surplus in Indiana, and they don't freaking give it back to us. So what are we going to do?
Republicans have been in control of your taxes.
Yes, they have.
Since for the last 22 years.
Republicans are not small government.
Let's go tar and feather them right now. Speaking of overtaxation, so I'll tell you, one of the biggest tax revenues that our state has is gambling. So the lottery takes in about $365 million off of there. And then, you know, you have this new sports betting, which is a lot. This new sports betting that is a lot. And plus we have pari-mutuels. So that's almost $1 billion in tax revenue right there. And I don't know where that money's going. Well, obviously it's just going in this little fund that they got dishing up here.
We call it the kitty.
The kitty, yeah. And it's not meowing anymore. It's roaring. And I did have somebody comment about the roads. You know, we should repair the roads. Well, there's a major problem with that right now. We do not have enough contractors to do the work.
People ain't rushing to be here with this right to work and low taxes?
We got Superior. Yeah.
I think it's the weather. I think it's
the
weather.
Y'all just got through talking about how great Indiana was, but now we can't even get contractors. Come on, y'all.
No, we can't. Well, and you know, they're doing 69 is Walsh out of Chicago, I believe. Superior is out of Florida that's doing our biggest projects here. Unbought and unbossed. I could get along with that. Where'd you get that, Bear? That's
Florida's mayoral candidate up in Muncie a couple years ago, Terry Witt Bailey. She's an awesome lady, love her to death.
Yeah, Florida is also a right to work state. So, but you've got a really great point about, you know, people come here for conventions. So somebody else made the decision to bring the convention here, and that's what drew everybody in. They didn't come here because they were like, let's have conventions in Indiana. They did it because we're doing a really great job with those. And Adam Harvey's got a great thing: Big Ten, Final Four, Drum Corps International, Firefighters Convention, FFA,
Big Ten, Final Four, not every year in Indianapolis.
Right.
Those things are not every year. Not like Daytona Beach. Not like Sag Beach. Not like
Dana.
Stop.
We need the sun, Mr. Sun.
There are people flying out right now from all over the country to go lay out on the beach. Quit playing, y'all.
We got white sand up on the dunes up on Lake Michigan. It's just the water's 40 degrees. That's the problem.
It's no comparison. That's like giving a tic tac to a whale. That was a joke I heard years ago. It ain't the same. I love Indiana, but like you said, conventions are our thing. There's got to be a reason, something happening. People can go to Florida on a Tuesday because they just feel like, because they want some sun. They not coming to Indiana unless it's a reason. Stop playing, y'all. Stop playing. Even our sports teams are disappointing us right now.
That's good stuff.
We need to fix this. This. What if we did like New Hampshire? New Hampshire gets a lot of people that cross over the line specifically to come in and shop because they have no sales tax. So why don't we do that?
Skiing up there? Don't they have like really good skiing too?
I don't know. I was only up there during mud season.
Some pretty good skiing up
that
way.
Yeah, we don't have no skiing here either.
Hey, we got perfect north slope.
We have Paoli Peaks.
Okay, yeah, we got
Paoli Peaks. Country skiing is much better for your joints. Nobody gets hurt cross country skiing. Yes. That's where the money is.
Because that's what they go to Colorado.
You can do that up north.
Where the money is. You can do it. It's like the Nordic track. You do it all day. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody breaks a hip, hurts a knee, no torn ACLs. But I wanted to go back to the streets a little bit. So, okay, we've got some extra money and some of our streets are challenged. And you guys were talking about people not wanting to work. I think one of the biggest issues with our streets, as I'm on the edge of 50, I know some of you have crossed over and some have not. I'm on the edge of 50. And I'm telling you guys, like, I've got some freaking low vision at night. Like, it's like when it's dark.
Lion's mane mushroom will fix that.
Well, we need some. But I'm telling you, like right after daylight savings time ended, and the first day I was driving at like 6 o'clock at night, I was like, wow, it's really dark. And, you know, like when you are in the South, like, you know, we drove down to Destin, Florida years ago. Once you get off of 65 south of Montgomery, they use this reflective paint in the South. When your headlights hit it, the whole area is glowing. It's like the sun is out, is the most amazing thing in the world. And I know it's different because they don't have, you know, snow and they don't have to go and plow it. Yes, I am an old blonde blind woman.
You ain't alone, sis.
But my point is that, like, I really think that we need to work, especially here in Fishers, to make our streets safer. We need some more reflective paint. We've got 16-year-old drivers. We got 69-year-old drivers. And I'm telling you, as a woman who is right there in the middle, these roads are not well marked.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next survey, and I see Spiro put up there that let's go on to some positive vibes. Well, Spiro, this ain't going to be it. So I did a poll. Can a Republican win mayor of Indy? 17% not a chance, 70% maybe, 13 hard no. So let's add that up real quick. That makes more than 100%. No, or no, it doesn't. No, that's about right. 30 to 70, pretty much. So we'll start with the Democrat of the group. We'll get Dana out here. We're getting our mileage out of you. I had to teach you not to come on our show for a year.
Obviously, Republicans can win Indianapolis. They were winning it before Joe Hogsett and Bart Peterson. Yes, they can win.
Right,
absolutely.
Well,
if you put your name on the ballot, you can win. If you work hard enough and you convince enough voters that your plan will fit the needs of the people of Indianapolis, sure you can win. The problem is typically Republicans don't give a dang about people of color. They don't care about LGBTQ plus folk. And all you got to do is look at the legislation they put out. I mean, listen, sis, I know you in the DEI group in Republicans, the first class and all that, but how many elected folks y'all got? I'm just saying. Listen, when you write policies that discriminate against people, when you write policies that tell people they can't have choice, those policies don't necessarily align with the vast majority of the people that live in Indianapolis. But I'm not saying a Republican can't win. Sure they can. But the way the Republicans write policies, they typically are against people of color, marginalized groups, and other minority groups.
All right. So what do you think about this one? I'll ask everybody. How about Abdul? He's got an exploratory committee going, and it sounds like
Republicans can win. I mean, hell, Republicans even put up Herschel Walker. They believe a Republican can win. Any Republican can win. That's how much they value Black people.
Straight ticket voting in Indiana, baby. That's how the Republicans win. It's not on merit. People just vote without thinking.
Well, I mean, that could be said for Marion County. It's 60-40. They do that here in Marion County. So it
was 70-30 last time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know. It's getting, maybe a little better. They tried some. I don't know. So Lucy, what do you think about that? I mean, you obviously would like to have a libertarian win the mayor, but
we have the most elected libertarians in the state of Indiana compared to any of the other states. We've done a really good job. I think we won 17 out of 33 races in this last election. I mean, we are kicking butt in Indiana because people want to be free. And if enough people in Indianapolis decide that they want to have freedom and liberty instead of what they're experiencing right now, then they'll vote libertarian. But until the people want to split their vote, they're going to be lazy. They're going to vote straight ticket Democrat. They're going to vote straight ticket Republican because they're voting for the party and not the people.
All right. Now, Tiffany, what do you think about that? You're friendly with Abdul. Do you think he's going to run?
He's got an exploratory committee. I mean, I don't know what he's passionate about when it comes to Marion County, but I was thinking about what Lucy said about people being lazy and just voting and just to cast their vote and not really looking at people and their platforms and what they can do. So I just think that's really interesting because I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that there's anything necessarily good that's on the horizon for Marion County. I know that I think Robin Shackelford's going to run for mayor, but I don't really feel like I've seen somebody express like, hey, these are the top 5 concerns in Marion County. These are the things that I'm going to do to address them. And Marion County it's pretty diverse. I mean, you've got some inner city, you've got some very affluent areas. And I just don't see someone coming in and wrapping their arms around it. And I just think it's so interesting that it's this wonderful convention city, but there are these populations where if a tourist went in the wrong place, we'd have an international incident. And actually we did down there. So I just don't think that the people in charge of Marion County and Indianapolis are walking lockstep to make it the best place ever. But I don't live in this.
Lucy, do you live in Indianapolis?
No,
I do not.
Okay, and Tiffany, I know you don't. So I'm just.
I used to though. I lived there most of my life.
I'm gonna jump in because I feel what y'all saying, but when we talk about crime, we don't ever really talk about the root cause of crime. We never want to talk about it. We
Well,
always
what
want to
candidate-
we want to gloss over it and talk
Wait,
about
wait,
the
wait, wait,
international.
wait. So, what candidates are trying to address
Oh,
crime?
ma'am.
Because y'all didn't want Cindy. You didn't
Well,
want Cindy.
I think they have all talked about it at one point, or at least the Democrats that I've talked to. At least the Democrats. I can't.
Cindy was going to come in and prosecute, but everybody wanted to vote straight party, so you don't have Cindy.
Listen, Cindy had a good chance. I mean, she ran a good race. She ran her race. The people wanted Ryan Mears. You know why? Because people want to legalize marijuana, and if you put that on the ballot,
that's true.
People want to, and Cindy was going to lock up everybody. And Ryan Mears came out early. Whether or not he should have or shouldn't have is irrelevant. But what he said was, if you got less than a pound, I'm not bothering with that. So that's why she lost. Until she deals with that.
How many people in Marion County have a pound of pot?
I don't know. I don't smoke weed, so I don't know.
No, I don't have. I just can't.
I mean, the smart ones.
I don't know. See, there are people can answer that better than me.
Tell me that when it comes to crime, stealing catalytic converters, murders, gun violence,
The state
Marion
addressed
County,
that.
if you boil it down to the essence, it is all about, damn it, I want my pot and I don't care about anything else. That is sad.
But the root of crime is poverty.
The root
Yes,
is
that is
Yes, the root of crime is poverty.
Okay,
Why
so
are
let's
people
hold that thought, because this is an
Marijuana doesn't
excellent.
improve poverty.
Let's hold that thought for 1 second, because the next poll I'm going to do is one that hit me a little personal. A friend of mine was dragged out of his car at the Dollar General in Indianapolis, beaten, and his car was stolen. Do you feel safe in Indy? 10% yes, 51 no, 1% no opinion, 37% I stay away from downtown Indy, and then Dorn, Lucy, your lovely husband, put, is this a rhetorical question? And he voted for it at 1%. So you guys are really good at leading this show on. You don't even really need me. So let's talk about that root cause. And I do believe it is lack of opportunity for some of our communities. And I see it here in Mars Hill. Dana, I do live in Indianapolis, like right in it. I mean, I'm like in it. But I do see missed opportunities. Like I said, we have you can get a union job in the labor's union and make $47.50 an hour. Now, $17 of that goes to the union, but you're still making $30 an hour. And yet the union hall's empty. So I don't know, and they don't care what color you are. They don't care. They need bodies to go out and work on these roads. And I'm going to start with you, Dana, on that, because I know that this is one of your passionate topics. Because like I said, we both live in the city. We see the economic unbalance, and I don't like the word equity.
Disparity.
I just like unbalance is probably
Economic
a better word
disparity.
for me.
Yeah. I mean, home ownership for Black folks have gone down. So they're not getting the loans anymore. So home ownership is how we pass on generational wealth. I'll give you a prime example. My mother graduated high school at 21. My father never graduated high school. My mother worked at Methodist Hospital for 35 years. My daddy worked at Citizens Gas and Coke. He had a union job, but they were able to save because they were Depression-era parents. They knew how to save. And so by the time my parents were both gone, me and my brother were able to divide up the money that was left over. And guess what? I used what they provided me, part of what they gave me, to buy my property. Okay. When you don't own a home, you can't pass that down. And if we're making it too difficult for people to get loans, or we have shady appraisers who go into Black people's homes and appraise their property for less than white folk home, we already know it's true. So quit playing. It's a DE&I. See, if you teach people how to be kind to other people, they won't go into Black people's homes when they're appraisers, when they become adults, and they'll treat them like regular human beings. But anyway.
They call that red lighting. Is that what they call red lighting?
Red lining. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
Redlining is a whole nother issue, but gentrification is an issue behind that, because now you got these developers coming in, buying up all the properties, right? For whatever reason, because jobs moved out. They're not in the city no more. People don't have the same high-paying jobs. Union jobs are gone. So once the union jobs left, the wages became stagnant. So, and the cost of living still goes up because everybody complains about inflation, right? So now the economic opportunities are not the same. People don't have it, and home ownership is bad. I believe that there's opportunity here in Indianapolis, though, because Indianapolis, no matter what anybody else says, no matter wherever else they live, Indianapolis is the economic hub of this entire state. All the money is made right here. You may live in Carmel, but you drive your behind to Lily. You may live in Citrus, but you drive your behind to Cummings downtown. You may live in Hamilton County, Hendricks County, Boone County, Hancock County, Johnson County, but you drive you behind to Marion County and make your money. Then when you make your money, your tax dollars go back to your counties. And then you go, oh my God, look how great our roads are compared to Indianapolis's. But if some of that money that you drive your SUV, your Tesla into my town, and some of that tax money will stay here, then maybe our roads will be as nice as the tax dollars in your county. This is where the money is made for the entire state.
Wait a second.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. The only thing I wanted to add to that, we'll go back to home ownership, home ownership in certain communities and showing some homes. I go to gentrified areas all the time, and it is heartbreaking when you know that Black home ownership historically was high. Because I loved when you told the story about your parents, because traditionally people got married. So if you live in poverty, there's a 97% chance you can get out of poverty if you do three things. Number one, graduate high school. Number two, get married, and then have children after you get married. That will get you out of poverty 97% of the time. So we have people who are living very differently than our parents did. And what I loved about your story is that your parents lived together and they bought a house. So you take that same scenario and you have people who are bequeathed homes. Somebody passes away and they get a home. And the first thing that happens, the reason why gentrification happens is, number one, people think they can live for free. So they're not investing $500 a month, $1,000 a month in the home. They're living there free, paying the utilities, paying the taxes, but not doing any work to the homes. I've been places, I have shown a $500,000 house that's been renovated next to a house that is falling down, gutters, holes in the roof. The house needs to be knocked down. But theoretically, if somebody would invest in that house, it would be worth just as much as a neighbor's house.
They can't invest in that house because when the gentrification happens and they build that $500,000 house next door, the taxes get raised.
Wait. This is the thing. But people don't understand that even though you inherited a home, if you had decent credit, you could get a home equity line of credit and you could fix your house. You have an asset that you cannot borrow.
Wages are stagnant.
Fix. Well, the thing is that, like, for everybody's credit score is high and wonderful before you mess it up. So that's my thing.
That's not true. You start out at zero. You start out zero. Like, I actually wrote a book on credit repair. I went around and sold my credit repair course for $1,000. You start at zero.
People how to maintain their credit until it's too bad.
And you don't teach people that the Federal Reserve creates money out of thin air.
You know what? That's great, but we're talking about home ownership right now.
This is absolutely germane to home ownership. Do you know what this latest $1.7 trillion is doing to home ownership?
When you inherit a home, and you cannot take care of it, it has everything to do with you as a person. I mean, it's like somebody can give you a home, but if you don't understand,
somebody can give you a home and the government can steal it from you.
And they do.
And they do all the time. And the gentrification comes in and it knocks the poor people out of the very neighborhoods that their grandfathers built actual houses.
I agree with you 100%. But what I'm saying
Fishers people should stop moving down to 16th and Park.
And you know what? Until we teach people and help people invest in their homes so that they can be livable, then
they've got to invest in rice and
they too
beans
busy
first.
trying to keep up. Too busy trying to feed their kids.
Yes.
Because they make $7 an hour. They make $7 an hour at the job that they could get, right? Because they couldn't go to college. They didn't go to college. They weren't, whatever the reason was, they didn't. And these union jobs are gone, right? All the union jobs are gone. They kept the
now
wages.
If you want to work on the road, they're not gone.
I'm just saying
they can't get to their job because the bus doesn't go to the better paying
public
jobs.
transportation anywhere.
And why can't they afford a house? Because Obama and Cash for Clunkers took out $633,000.
Okay. I think the only thing that's going to save this conversation is small talk. But now Mark's going to talk about the vaccine, but we're going to do small talk. And I got some more poll questions on the People Over Politics, but go on there and join the group, and I'm going to have some more questions.
I can't
for
wait
our
to hear
show.
Mark talk about something he doesn't know anything about. Once
No,
again.
yeah, I wish Stock was on now after this, because I did get to listen to part of it. So let's go ahead and listen to Mark Small and Small Talk. I think he does admit that he's not a scientist in there, and then he proves it. So here you go.
I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for December 27th, 2022. A few weeks ago, I did a small talk about the effects of not getting vaccinated. If a lot of people don't get vaccinated, how that enables the virus, in this instance, COVID, to spread, because it has more targets. The more targets it has, the more easily it can evolve in, its mutant strains can avoid the effects of the vaccine. So by not getting vaccinated, it's worsening things. Somebody said I was stupid for saying that. So I called a friend of mine who's on faculty of medical school, and I watched it. And I said, well, was what I said stupid? And he said, well, science has never been your strong suit. I said, well, okay. He goes, you should have had an MD on there with you. I said, oh yeah, right. Was what I said wrong? Said, no, that's how it kind of broadens the base, so to speak, and nullifies the effects of vaccines. So there's that. 1. 2, closure. I had my vaccination done, and I've done 3 boosters. Fortunately, I've ducked getting it. I'm more fine. Due to dates, what and whom to trust. History in this instance shows what happens when something spreads through the population and decimates it in great numbers. And I think that what you could do is you could look at the plague. The plague killed anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of the population of Europe back in the day. What happened as a result was this: workers had their rights recognized. The Renaissance began because people who were oppressing workers or were keeping them down suddenly didn't have as many workers to do the things that they wanted to have done, where they just snapped their fingers and things would be done. Now, I'm not advocating we let COVID spread as much as possible. Get the damn vaccine, okay? But in the meantime, I'll say this, it can do certain things, affect society in certain ways that people didn't anticipate. I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for December 27th, 2022. Peace, love, happiness, freedom. I approve of this blog or whatever. I just.
Well, there you go. So, hey, see, you got your COVID.
There's 2 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
Well, hey, you can thank Spiro for reminding me then, because he said, "Hey,
Dana,
I
am genuinely sorry to see that, because that means that you were misled into harming your own body with no recourse. The people that have harmed you will never be able to hold.
You look fine to me.
I've not been harmed, because
have you had your heart tested?
Yes, actually I have. You know,
have
why?
You had your heart cells tested for scar tissue?
You know why I've had my heart tested? Because I have cardiac issues and I was at high risk. And so that is, hello, because see, hey, I don't know science, but when my doctor tells me to come get this test, I go get the test. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know science, but when my doctor tries to vaccinate my kid, I just say no.
I was high risk.
Not a heart. Like
I was high risk. I had too many friends that had died. Too many friends that had died who were fine. They may have had health issues, but they died when they got COVID. That's like having a heart issue, but dying in the car crash. It's the same thing. They die. So for me, I'm fine with it. Do what you want to do. It's your body. It's your choice.
Yes. Well, and why don't these Republicans understand that? They're trying to mandate. Your choice.
Yeah, they don't. They trust
your
me.
Body, your choice.
That again.
I'm all for
now,
that.
Dana, on the other side of that, my doctor said, do not get that because I have, heart. I had ablation and some other stuff. They said, hey, if it's up to you to get it. I advise that you didn't. So I'm like, okay. Well, it was pretty easy for me to say no to it because I'm like, oh, I don't know about this thing. I'm gonna wait and see.
Well,
So
I think we should be respectful of Dana's time because we have kept our guests longer than we said we would.
Oh, I know it. We
But
did.
you know, so she may or may not want to sit through conspiracy theories.
No, you don't want to do it.
I'm a pass on that one. I'm a pass
Okay,
on that
yeah,
one.
you may have a political.
I appreciate you, Lucy, looking out for me. I do. In fact, I have a doctor appointment in the morning. Hey,
don't let him kill you. It's the number 3 cause
I have
of death.
first of all, I have a female
doctor.
I have a female doctor.
Yes.
I appreciate male doctors, blah, blah, blah. And I have a woman of color. I don't like having to explain what it is to be Black. I don't like having to explain what it is to be a woman. And when I tried therapy, I even went and got me a lesbian therapist, a Black lesbian therapist. I don't like having to explain the easy, simple stuff. You know, I don't want to explain what it is to be Black. I want to do that. I want to explain what it is to be gay.
I want
to get to the real stuff. But anyway, Indiana's own Dana Black. Be sure to catch me every Thursday from 6 to 7 on Turn Left. And also to all of my Democrats, I know ain't none of them listening to this show, but all of my Democrats out there.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. We got 2 or 3. So
Black
Dana, where is that on Facebook? Is that
it
on
is a Facebook Live. I have a YouTube page. I'm also on Spotify now. And also to all my Democrats out there running for office, if you need a little help with some video production, Black Pro Studios is up and running. I will put the links in. You guys feel free. If you need some help, I do focus on Democrats. I ain't gonna lie. But I love helping people. I will help people who don't even like me or like my philosophies. But just know that I believe that every policy impacts everybody. And I just want to elect people that I think they're going to write good policy. I agree with most Democrats 75% of the time. I think that's pretty good because there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. The only time there's a perfect candidate is when you see your own name on the ballot. So everybody run for office, say what you believe, be authentic, be true to self, and start with love because you care about people. I'll holler at y'all next time.
Don't be a stranger on our show, okay? And I want to know who doesn't like you. I'll have a word with them. So.
Everybody loves you.
We all love Dana.
We get
Dana, will you take Republican money too?
No. I will not. Because I'm not going to help Republicans win. I'm just not going to do it. Somebody else might. It's not about the money. It's not,
I won't help Republicans or Democrats.
Wait a second. A Democrat with principle? Oh, wow. This is going to be a whole show.
No, Act Blue pays my mortgage. I just want to help as many Democrats as I can with the skill sets that I have. That's all I care about.
Well,
I wake up in the morning. Everybody else got their thing. I got mine.
All right. You got plenty. So I'm going to go ahead and roll.
I'll holler at y'all later.
I'm going to roll this next clip for conspiracy, and Dana won't be on this one. So there you go. Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week. Oh, boy. You know, I got a confession. I had a really good conspiracy theory, and I forgot what. It must not have been that good if I forgot it, but I sure forgot it. So, but yeah, it's always good having Dana on the show, and I just realized that I was on a show with 3 ladies, and I still have my skin to show here about it. I made it through it. So, but you guys, great discussion on the many topics that I threw at you. So Tiffany, hold on a second. Let me see here what we got. What do you have tonight?
So I don't want to say that I was a tourist outside of the state of Indiana because Indiana is the #1 place to visit and be a tourist. But, no Bigfoot spottings, nothing like that. I think that we're going to end 2022 alone, quite like we started the year. But we're okay with that. We've done everything we could. We put out traps. We put out cookies.
Everything.
And we weren't able to catch anything. But I'm happy to be here on our 100th show. John, thank you so much. I think that us making it to show number 100 is probably the biggest conspiracy theory right there.
Yeah, that is amazing. And, it honestly, the show keeps growing a little bit and we're still surviving. And sometimes it's a struggle to come up with a topic and to get it done. But, tonight we just did the polls off of People Over Politics, and I thought that went quite well. And we had Dr. Stock on there. And I know Lucy's going to bring a very good conspiracy tonight.
And one final thing, John, thank you so much for having me. And in the comments, Dorn said it's time for you to have some Midol. So I know that when you're with the girls, it does a lot to your hormones. You're prone to like moodiness. So,
You get it. Well, I do have the seasonal depression. So, and Lisa's got foot surgery, and I've had dog detail. I've had to take care of chickens. I've had to actually. I am not a good caregiver. I'm just proud nobody's died here at my household. I'm just so proud of that fact that, and there's not a lot of mutiny on the bounty either. Nobody's really complaining. The blind wiener dog is doing her thing and all that. Yeah. I know that's a whole show topic. Blind wiener dog, and she's getting to be deaf now. I'm going to change her name to Helen Keller instead of Scarlet Chili May. But that's an all different story. So, all right, Lucy, what do you have for us?
Well, two things. From the short time that I lived in Florida, I found out that they call Bigfoot down there, it's the skunk ape. So that may be why you didn't find him, because you were looking for Bigfoot, and he's not from around there, those parts. So
does he live in the Everglades?
Yeah, they really do. Hold on, Jordan, what's the name of that terrifying show that you watched when you were a kid? The swamp monster or something?
Oh yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's like, that thing is like real. The Legend of Boggy Creek. Oh man. Yeah, don't let your kids watch that. They will not go to sleep.
That was a good one in Mantra. Oh yeah, Godzilla. That was a great movie.
So it's all about Bill Gates, and I went ahead early in the show and posted it in the links, and I've got the banner here behind me for Catastrophic Contagion. Bill Gates and his now ex-wife Melinda, because even she couldn't stand how many times he'd gone to rape down little children on Pedo Island. Anyway, she divorced him, but before that, they were pretty chummy, and they were giggling about how this pandemic number one, as they called COVID, was just a walk in the park, and pandemic number two is really going to get our attention. What disturbs me the most about that is pandemic number two, catastrophic contagion, is all about children dying. So these elites have decided to come after your children. And if you are within the sound of my voice, share this catastrophic contagion with your friends, with your family members, and figure out early that you're going to have to protect your kids, because we have something like 30% of the children with a demonstrated, as Dr. Stock said, demonstrated, proven heart muscle, myocarditis, scar tissue, and death. And Janet Dixon Garner. Yes, you're right, Janet.
Is that so? That's, if we can make it to 25, we'll be all right. If we can make it through.
No, I don't think that. I think that what's going to happen between now and then is, with the FTX and all that sort of thing, you're going to see CBDC, central bank digital currency, rolled out in this country. You're going to see the vaccine passport come up again. You're going to see that kind of married to the central bank digital currency. And what they think is so cool about the central bank digital currency is that it can be programmed so that you'll be able to buy certain things or not be able to buy certain things at the whim of politicians. So if they think that your carbon footprint is too big, you had a hamburger last month and that's just too many. Well, you've got 29 insect burgers or nothing. So the most important thing that I'm making my mission right now, and Tiff, you and I should definitely be working together, because I'm a mortgage broker and you're a realtor. I'm focused on finding larger tracts of property right now and buying by the court, selling by the shot, and getting people out onto 2-acre, 5-acre, 10-acre homesteads. And we have just enough time that people can start doing backyard chickens. They can start doing rabbits. If we could just get enough people to go out and start growing food for the community, then the people in the cities won't starve. But at this point, if it shut down right now, those of us out in the country would be fine. But the people in the cities will be locked down and starving to death, and they will be clamoring to frickin' eat insects.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day about processed foods. If we didn't have processed foods, there'd be a lot of people going hungry, and I don't know how good processed
foods.
But
you're dying on the inside from processed foods. Lucy, one of the things I think is interesting about what you said is that, like getting people on 2 acres and doing their own stuff. What I think is so interesting is that many people live in neighborhoods where your HOA will not allow you to have chickens and to do the things that could make you more self-sustaining. So I do think that, and I'm not a big conspiracy theory kind of person, but I think that it's kind of ironic that some of these things that you could do to make yourself less dependent on the system are not allowed in so many of our neighborhoods. And it would be interesting if we went through some type of famine or another type of pandemic where people are like, well, damn it, everybody needs 2 chickens. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Joel, can I put out a word for Joel Salatin of Polyface Farms? He's like the OG. He calls himself the libertarian lunatic farmer. He has a ton of books out because his background actually, his BA is in journalism. And what he pointed out is that if every 10th house had, I don't know, a half a dozen chickens, 10 chickens, something like this, if each family just had 2 chickens, then we would have so much less food waste. I mean, yeah, Polyface Farm. So I think it's polyface.com. But anyway, people don't understand. I mean, I've got chickens. I have such little waste coming out of my house now, by buying in bulk, by taking those chicken scraps. The ends of the onion at my house, they don't go in the trash anymore. And I couldn't have a compost pile when I lived in Fishers and was in an HOA. What they do is they go out to my chickens, and some magic process, they turn into protein-filled eggs. So,
yeah,
and
the
it's eggs,
chicken,
not eggs.
It's eggs up here in Mars Hill. Well, we have a little thing where we put the coffee grind. It's amazing. I'm amazed. The chicken is an amazing animal. First of all, it's got one of the oldest questions about it: which came first, the chicken or the egg? That could be a whole show. But those dudes, they can eat glass and dirt and rocks and all that, and then they can poop out a beautiful egg. And it's unbelievable how they do it. It's mine are doing it right now. They're making an egg in their little belly, and it's going to come out. I'm going to go get it tomorrow. And yes, they live through 9 below zero, just in my chicken coop with no heater, no nothing like that. I don't know how their little chicken feet didn't freeze off, but because they got no fur. I guess I don't know how they don't freeze off. But they don't.
They fluff up their feathers, and they trap air in the layers of their feathers.
Yeah, it's just now they didn't come out of the coop. They didn't like that part of it, but it's amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, if you don't have chickens, you need to get some, and you'll be amazed.
If you don't have a rooster, hens make very, very little noise. I mean, most people could do bootleg chickens and do them in their garage in a very small space. Oh yeah,
you're talking about the family behind me. They have like 50 chickens and ducks in their garage. I have yeah, it's crazy.
And
We're outside.
Rabbits are basically silent. So if you want a great source of meat in a small amount of space with a small amount of input, then you got to go for meat rabbits. We
had a little tragedy here in Mars Hill. One of our community gardens guys had chickens and rabbits in his backyard, and 2 pit bulls that were loose. They had chicken dinners and rabbit dinners, really. And I'm like, it's just so frustrating that people can't maintain their pets. And I felt bad for him. So we did have a little tragedy here in Mars Hill with rabbits and chickens. So, a lot of times they just want to kill them, and they don't really even eat them or anything. It's like, it's all that good stuff.
I would like to put in a word for Great Pyrenees, because my father had a Great Pyrenees, and that's an LGD, a livestock guardian dog. Although, he didn't need it for that. That was his companion dog. But that Great Pyrenees was in his yard when the pit bull and it's a very aggressive pit bull that was across the street. Like, neighbors had complained. People didn't even want to walk their dogs past that person's house because it was scary. That Great Pyrenees kicked the pit bull's arse.
Yeah, well, they got really a lot of fur, and they got a big chomper. So, and they are definitely a protective of a territory type of animal. But they eat a lot of dog food. So if you're going to get one, have some room.
You can make coats out of their fur. That was like the thing that we did at my dad's house, is we just pulled the fur off of that dog.
I thought you skinned them. I'm like, that's mean.
Nope. The fur was everywhere.
Just the fur that came off. Okay, yeah.
It's like a nice pillow.
Yeah, you make a dog fur pillow. All right. Well, on that, we're going to end the 100th episode. And I don't know if the Pacers are winning or losing. I could do the Spirit Airline conspiracy fact. There was a sort of a viral video going around about a Spirit Airline taking off the runway, and the tower says, hey, stop, there's a tornado. And the guy in the cockpit said, hey, we're already going. We're not stopping. And just takes right off. So you can look it up I think it's on YouTube and different things. Look up Spirit Airline and tornado, and I'm sure it'll pop right up. And I bet you Ed was on that flight, or he missed that flight because they messed him out of his ticket. So that's what I'm thinking. So there's my conspiracy fact for this show. So that being said, hey, thanks to you guys for doing this crazy show with me every Tuesday, for all this big pay, and celebrity and all that. It's just always a pleasure to see you every week. And hey, we'll see you next week. We have no idea what the topic is, but I'm pretty sure we'll think of something. So Everybody, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Tiffany's got to say bye to her fan club real fast. So that's, it's all good. So, all right. Well, hey, stay tuned for our very first show of the new year next week. What will we talk about?
New Year's resolutions.
What's that?
New Year's resolutions.
Oh yeah. New Year's revolution. I got a little video for that one too. So
New Year's revolution. I like that.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. See, Tiffany, Lucy, I'm thinking out for you. So, all right. Well, hey, tune in for New Year's revolution or resolution or something else. All right. See you, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.